Okay, sorry about the delay there, Councillor Chilcott, and we're ready when you're ready, Your Worship.
Good evening and welcome to the Committee of Adjustment. It is 6:48 and I will call this meeting to order. I would remind the committee of any disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. First order of business is the adoption of the minutes, which included a Committee of Adjustment meeting held July the 6th, 2023. Everyone's had opportunity to peruse those. If there are no errors or omissions, the motion would read that the minutes from the Committee of Adjustment meeting held July the 6th, 2023 be approved as presented. Moved by Deputy Mayor Weisler and seconded by Committee Member Rose. All in favor? That's carried. This evening, we're dealing with minor variance application A0923 Wall, 17 King Street East. The purpose of the variance is to permit the extension of a legal non-conforming use in the OS1 zone where a residential use is not permitted under the current and in-force zoning bylaw. Additionally, the proposed variance would grant relief from the zoning bylaw regulations in section 10.5 to permit a maximum height of 7.1 meters, whereas a maximum height of 7.0 meters is permitted for the lands located at 17 King Street East, north side, west of North Street. The effect of this variance will be to permit a second-story addition to the existing residential dwelling unit, which is a legal non-conforming use in the OS1 zone. And at this time, we will entertain the staff presentation. That is report DS 5323 by Margaret Underhill. Secretary Treasurer, Committee of Adjustment, minor variance A0923 Wall 17 King Street East. Thomas, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Marg is unable to attend tonight, so I'll be taking care of her regular session and C of A reports. So this report is a minor variance for Riley and Natalie Wall, 17 King Street East of Vienna, as you've noted. The current use is legal non-conforming in an OS1 zone. And the variance request is under section 10.5 to permit a maximum height of 7.1 meters, where a current permitted maximum height of 7.0 meters exists. No public comments were received as of the time of writing this report, and we've had no comments come in after the fact. So the Committee of Adjustment must be satisfied that the application meets the 4 tests for a minor variance under the Planning Act. The planner's memorandum is attached and outlines a full analysis of the 4 tests. These lands are also subject to Long Point Region Conservation Authority approval. So LPRCA has reviewed this application and has provided comments and a copy of the permit issued in August for the construction. So staff and planner concur that the application meets the criteria and recommends the minor variance provide relief under section 45 of the Planning Act to permit the maximum height of 7.1 meters. The application, plan memorandum, and LPRCA correspondence are all attached. The recommendation is before you and the committee, and I am available for questions.
Thank you for that. Moving on to presentations by the applicant and the agent. Is anyone, are they present this evening? I assume. Do you wish to make a presentation?
I don't need to. If you have any questions for me, you're more than welcome to ask.
Okay.
But pretty much what he said, and I've been dealing with Margaret back and forth already a little bit. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. But I think it's pretty simple. I'm just looking to build a second story with my home.
Thank you. Any public submissions?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Now we'll open it up to committee questions and discussion. Does anyone have any questions and or discussions for staff or the applicants? Councilor, Committee Member Prose.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to vote in favor of this, but it was made aware to me this week that surrounding municipalities don't have this bylaw at this specific number. It's more like 10 meters. So I'm just asking, would it be worth it for us to look into this bylaw and maybe change it if the surrounding municipalities are at 10 meters?
I'm going to look to staff for some advice on that.
Through you, committee member Ketchabah of the committee. So we will be commencing a zoning bylaw review, I believe next year it starts through IBI, and it would be at that time where we would revisit our current zoning bylaw, permitted uses, heights and so forth, and determine what is appropriate for Bayham.
Okay, any other questions, comments, discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on with the decision of the committee. The recommendation reads that the Committee of Adjustment Secretary Treasurer's Report DS 5323 regarding the wall minor variance be received. And that the Committee of Adjustment considered all written and oral submissions received on this application, the effect of which helped the committee to make an informed decision. And whereas the committee agrees that the proposed variance as presented meets section 45(2) of the Planning Act and have no objection to the extension of a legal non-conforming use given its compliance with the Planning Act and the applicable policies of the official plan. And whereas the committee agrees that the proposed variance as presented meets section 45(1) of the Planning Act and is considered minor. Therefore, application A 0923 submitted by Riley and Natalie Wall pursuant to section 45 of the Planning Act for a minor variance is granted to provide relief from Municipality of Bayham zoning bylaw Z 456 2003, section 10.5 to permit a maximum building height of 7.1 meters, whereas a maximum height of 7 meters is permitted. Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Committee member Weiser and committee member Froze will second. All in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to the adjournment. That the Committee of Adjustment meeting for consideration of minor variance application A 0923 be adjourned at 6:55 PM. And that in accordance with the regulations of the Planning Act, notices of decision be circulated by the Secretary Treasurer accordingly. Mover and seconder, please. Committee member Froze and committee member Weiser will second. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We are adjourned.
7 o'clock, your worship.
Good evening. It is 7 PM and I will call this regular council meeting to order. I would remind council members of any disclosures of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. I see none noted. I don't believe there are any items not listed on the agenda.
None tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have any announcements for this evening? A little late for the announcement, but I'll put it out anyway. You might notice the gold ribbon I've got on my lapel. It's recognition that September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So just keep that in mind. Presentations, none. Delegations, none. And adoption of the minutes. We have the regular council meeting held September the 7th, 2023, and the planning public meeting held September 7th, 2023. Everyone's had opportunity to peruse those minutes. Now, if I don't hear of any errors or omissions, we'll take the following motion that the minutes from the regular council meeting held September the 7th, 2023, and the minutes from the statutory planning meeting held September the 7th, 2023 be approved as presented. Do we have a mover and seconder? Deputy Mayor Weiser will move. There she is. Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on with section 11, physical services, emergency services. 11.2 reports to council. We have report BL or 0523 by Harry Bernick, Fire Chief, Bylaw Enforcement, regarding an exemption from bylaw number 2021-037, emergency and utility off-road vehicles. Good evening, Chief.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Council, for having me tonight. This is a simple bylaw. It's more of a clerical miss that happened when we were writing the last version of the bylaw. We forgot an exemption clause in it, and we're asking that the exemption clause be allowing that emergency vehicles, public utilities, and public works, if we have a public works utility vehicle, be allowed on the roads.
Fairly simple. Any questions and or concerns from council members? Fairly straightforward. Well done.
Thank you.
The motion would read that report BL 0523 regarding exemption from bylaw number 2021-037, emergency and utility off-road vehicles be received for information, and that the appropriate bylaw be brought forward for council's consideration, and that a copy of the appropriate bylaw be forwarded to Elgin County's Police Service Board. Do I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Froese will move. Deputy Mayor Weiser will second. All in favor? That's carried. Brings us to section 12, development services, sustainability and conservation. 12.1 correspondence, and to receive for information, we have item A, notice of passing of zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0223 Thompson. Item B, notice of public meeting regarding proposed minor variance A 0923 Wall. C, notice of public meeting regarding proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 1123 Shaw and Shipway. And D, notice of public meeting regarding proposed official plan amendment OPA 0423 Algar Farms Limited. Does anyone have any questions regarding these articles of information? Seeing none, the motion would read that items 12.1.1A through D be received for information. Deputy Mayor Weiser will move. Councillor Froese will second. All in favor? And that's carried. 12.2 reports to council. Item A, report DS 5423 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding rezoning application ZBA 1023 Froze at 57268 Colton Line. Thomas, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to council. Isaac and Maria Froze submitted a rezoning application to rezone the property at 57268 Colton Line. This stems from a consent conditions through a severance application. Council has seen a number of these before where the severed lands are rezoned from an agricultural A1A to rural residential, and the retained lands are rezoned to a special agricultural A2. Planner's memorandum is attached and that accompanied a previous staff report that would have accompanied the consent application. So staff and planner concur that the rezoning application meets the policies and recommend approval to change the zoning to meet the condition of consent E3123, which was granted on June the 28th of this year. The rezoning application, including the draft zoning bylaws Z763-2023, are attached for council's consideration. And I am available for questions.
Thank you for that report. Any questions for staff? Things are going too easy. It is fairly, yeah, really straightforward. The motion reads that report DS 5423 regarding the Isaac and Maria Froze rezoning application ZBA 1023 be received for information. And that pursuant to Planning Act Regulations, Bill 73 Smart Growth for Our Communities Act 2015. It be pointed out that at the public participation meeting held September the 7th, 2023, associated with this application, there were no written submissions and no oral presentation received regarding this matter. And that all considerations were taken into account in council's decision passing this resolution. And that zoning bylaw number Z 456/2003 as amended be further amended by changing the zoning on a property located at concession 5 lot 22, known municipally as 57268 Colton Line from agricultural A1A to special agricultural A2 on the retained lands, and from agricultural A1A zone to a rural residential RR zone on the severed land to permit the severance of a surplus farm dwelling in accordance with official plan policies. And that zoning bylaw number Z 763/2023 be presented to council for enactment. Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Chilcott will move and Deputy Mayor Weiser will second. All in favor? That is carried. Brings us down to section 13, Finance and Administration, 13.1 correspondence, and 13.11 to receive for information. We have item A, the town of Bracebridge regarding time for change, MFIPA. Item B, town of Fort Erie regarding time for change, MFIPA. For those who want to know, that's Municipal Freedom of Information and Privacy Act.
Protection
and Privacy Act. Thank you. Item C, Township of Georgian Bluffs regarding time for change, MFIPA. Township of Mattawan regarding municipal codes of conduct, Town of Grimsby regarding establishing a guaranteed livable income. Item F, City of Hamilton regarding request to abandon Greenbelt development. Item G, Municipal Policing Bureau regarding distribution of police record check revenue to municipalities. Item H, Long Point Region Conservation Authority regarding the July 5th, 2023 meeting minutes. Item I, the County of Elgin regarding the business in Elgin, September 2023. And item J, Elgin County saved by the beep. Test your smoke alarm today, September 28th. Does anyone have any comments or questions regarding any of the correspondence? Yes, Thomas, please.
Just a quick comment that if there are any questions about item J, the Save by the Beep campaign, the chief is here to answer any questions.
Nice to be volunteered, isn't it, Chief? It's a nice picture in the paper, by the way.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a provincial campaign that began by the fire marshal in 2022. There were 133 deaths, fire fatalities, the highest in decades. The fire marshal got together a symposium, a 2-day symposium with all stakeholders and coming up with ideas. Many of those deaths could have simply been prevented by working smoke alarms. So what they've asked is that at least one day a year, and it will be September 28th from now to hopefully infinity, that every September 28th is going to be the day you test your smoke alarm. And all we're asking people to do is just to go home and test your smoke alarms. This is across the entire province. Most, in fact, almost all fire departments have well gone into supporting this. We have ourselves, on our website tomorrow, I've just received information that Stratfordville Station will be holding locations where they're going to actually be there in certain locations, where they're gonna meet and greet people. If you need help testing your smoke alarms, they will do that. We'll have batteries for people if their batteries are dead. We just want to make sure that it's safe for the community. So, thank you.
Thank
Worship.
you, Chief. Any other items? Well, I would draw council's attention to item I, the County of Elgin regarding the Business in Elgin September 23 newsletter. I would encourage you to really take a good look at it and check it out. There are some upcoming events, including the SPEC Bridges to Better Business on October the 5th. If you're interested, register. We've missed the Women's Leadership Conference, unfortunately. That was September 16th. There are an Excellence in Agriculture program and investment opportunities. And this is something new that they've started. I thought that was really good advertising to let people know that there are opportunities across the county if someone's interested. So take a good look at it. I think it's a well done document and it's interactive. And yeah, there's my plug. No one's interested in MFIPA? It would be nice if it was modernized, to be honest with you. Okay. And item G, I read the letter and it was a while ago. This is when the detachments are informing you they're no longer going to be doing record checks in 25. Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, then the motion would read that items 13.11A through J be received for information. Mover and seconder. Councillor Froze and Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That is carried. Brings us to 13.12 requiring action. We have item A, the Stratfordville Community Committee regarding a request for letter of support. Thomas, would you like to speak to this, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. So this correspondence came in from the Stratfordville Community Committee. They're applying for a grant through the County of Elgin regarding festivals and events and request a letter of support. In particular, they're asking for a letter of support for Watermelon Fest. And staff can't unilaterally provide a letter of support. It has to come to council for council's formal support. So it is before council for consideration, and we would recommend a letter of support being provided, as this is an event that has been going on in Bayham for a number of years. It's one of the staples of our community in the summertime, and we would at least from staff's perspective, we'd recommend support of it. So, Mr. Mayor, I'll leave it with you and council for deliberation, and I am available for questions.
Thank you for that. Any questions? Any concerns? Okay. The motion would read that the correspondence from the Stratfordville Community Committee regarding a request for a letter of support be received for information, and that Council for the Corporation and Municipality of Bayham recognizes that Watermelon Fest is a community festival of municipal significance and fully supports the event. Do I have a mover and seconder? Deputy Mayor Weiser and Councillor Froze will second. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. 13.2 reports to council. Item A, report CAO 4923 by Thomas Thayer, CAO, regarding amendment to site plan agreement, Max Underhill's Farm Supply Limited, 56532 Colton Line, SPA 0423.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to council, this is an information report. As staff have been delegated authority to enter into site plan agreements. This was done in June of 2022. In July of 2023, Max Underhill's Farm Supply Limited submitted a site plan control application. This requested an amendment to an existing agreement for the property known as 56532 Colton Line. The application was deemed complete by planning staff on September the 12th, 2023. And the existing site plan agreement is agreement number 0598 in the municipality's files, approved by bylaw 2016-080 in September of 2016. The requested amendment to the site plan agreement is in support of a 525 square meter addition to the existing north storage building. Further amendments include alterations to an existing fire access route, the installation of a dry hydrant, the enclosure of the connection between the buildings on site, and to add a lean-to electrical room on the north side of the existing structure. The amendments to the agreement did not require any changes to lot grading and drainage plans that were previously submitted in support of this property due to relatively minor scope of work. And as noted, as CAO is delegated authority for site plan control approval, this information is provided for informational purposes only. I will note that under the attachments, it says that the agreement has been executed by the municipality only. That was as of the date of draft of this report. We have since got a signed agreement back from the landowners as well. So now they are in the building permit stage. So the recommendation before you tonight is to receive this report for information purposes.
All right, thank you for that. Any questions for staff? It's good to see that businesses are growing in our community. Okay. Seeing no concerns or questions, the motion would read the report CAO 4923 regarding amendment to site plan agreement Max Underhill Farm Supply Limited 56532 Colton Line, Vienna, application number SPA 0423 be received for information. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Weisler, Councillor Chilcott. All in favor? That's carried. Flipping down to section 14, the bylaws. Bylaw number A is bylaw 2023-071, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between the corporation of the municipality of Bayham and Rail Tech Enterprises, Inc. for the construction of the Vienna Community Park Multi-Use Court. Bylaw number 2023-072, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2021-037, being a bylaw to prohibit and or otherwise regulate off-road vehicles, ORVs, on roads within the municipality of Bayham. And bylaw number Z 763-2023, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number Z 456-2003 as amended. Rose, anyone have any questions, concerns about the bylaws? Seeing none, the motion would read that bylaw number 2023-071, 2023-072, and Z 763-2023 be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed. I need a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Chilcott and Councillor Rose will second. All in favor? That is carried. Well, we have a few minutes, so I think we should call off.
Do that or
I know we could, but we'd have to have the gallery. Too. Recommendations.
still might have to between the planning meeting. It'll probably be done quickly as well for the 8 o'clock next meeting.
Well, we're still gonna have a break, probably, right?
Up to you, you're.
Why don't we call off for right now and we will resume at 7:30 with the public meeting.
7:30.
Are we unmuted?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to suspend our regular agenda and move into a statutory planning meeting minutes. It is 7:30 and I'll call this planning meeting to order. And remind the council of any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Seeing none. We're going to deal with item A, which is a proposed planning bylaw amendment, ZBA 1123 at 10465 Plank Road, Shaw and Shipway. The purpose of this bylaw amendment is to rezone the subject lands from rural residential, RR zone, to a site-specific rural residential, RRXX, to permit new livestock uses, livestock-related buildings and structures, whereas section 7.11.1 of zoning bylaw Z 456 2003 does not permit such uses within the rural residential zone. Subject lands are known as 10465 Plank Road, west side, south of Maple Grove line, and north of Black Bridge line. The effect of this bylaw will be to permit new livestock uses, livestock-related buildings, and structures on the subject land to the existing rural residential zone. And at this time, I will call for any public participation. Anyone who wishes to speak to this particular bylaw amendment would please attend the podium and sign in. Second call for any public participation on this bylaw amendment. I note there is no correspondence
None received, Mr. Mayor.
and no other business.
No other business.
All right. Then we'll move on to the adjournment motion that the zoning bylaw be considered at a future council meeting and that pursuant to the Planning Act requirements, the public meeting for zoning application ZBA 1123 is now complete at 7:32 PM. Mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Weiser. Councilor Probst. All in favor. That's carried. So it is 7:32 PM and I will call the second public planning meeting to order. Again, remind the council of any disclosures of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. This public planning meeting is dealing with proposed official plan amendment OPA 0423 at 53921 Nova Scotia line, Algar Farms Limited. The purpose of the official plan amendment is to add a new site-specific subsection to permit the severance of an existing dwelling made surplus through farm consolidation that does not conform to policy section 2.1.7.1. The subject lands are located at 53921 Nova Scotia line, south side, east of Richmond Road, and west of Saxon Road. The effect of this official plan amendment will be to permit the severance of a surplus farm dwelling from a farm parcel where the owner does not own another dwelling within the municipality of Bayonne. At this time, I would call for any public participation. Second call for any public participation. Okay, I would note that there's no correspondence received
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
and no other business,
No other business.
which brings us to the adjournment motion. That the official plan amendment be considered at a future meeting of council and that pursuant to the Planning Act requirements, the public meeting for official plan amendment application OPA 0423 is now complete at 7:34 PM. Anyone willing to move that? Deputy Mayor Weiser. And Councillor Chilcott, all in favor? That is carried. Which brings us back to the regular agenda, of which we're going to. I think we're going to move into an in-camera session at this point. So, ladies and gentlemen, once we get opened up, we're going to ask you just to step outside for a few minutes. We won't be that long. All right. Take the tidbits with you.
Take the tidbits, yeah.
Okay. Camera session at 7:35 PM to discuss. Confidential report regarding personnel matters about an identifiable individual, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals. It's the Colton Cemetery. Do we have a mover and seconder, please? Deputy Mayor Wisely. Counselor Froze, all in favor? And that's carried.